everyone, welcome. Hopefully having everyone, just an onslaught of people join into our webinar, our video launch of the Lived and Living Experience Acknowledgement. Welcome to everyone that has joined us. We'll get kicked off pretty quickly. No doubt have people join us as we go. But first off, I would like to take this opportunity to recognise Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional and continuing custodians of the land, sea, waterways and sky of this beautiful island, Lutruwita, Tasmania. I'm joining this meeting from Nipaluna, Hobart, the land of the Muwinina people. As we're all joining from other areas of Lutruwita, I recognise that many of you will be joining on other Aboriginal countries. And if you know that Aboriginal country that you're joining on today, please add it to the chat. I pay respects to elders past and present, and I recognise the deep history and culture of Tasmanian Aboriginal communities and honour their deep connection. I recognise that sovereignty has never been ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and deeply value the diverse voices and experiences of people with lived and living experience of alcohol and other drugs. I acknowledge that experiences with alcohol and other drug use are unique to everyone. I value the various support networks who stand alongside people within this community, offering care, support and strength through challenging times. Stigma and discrimination can affect not only individuals, but also the broader community, which impact equity, access, and opportunity for all. I acknowledge and appreciate the significant contributions of lived and living experience advocates and peer workers. Your expertise, passion, and dedication improve the lives of people, families, and the wider Tasmanian community. Together, we honour your essential voice and shared commitment to creating a future where dignity, respect and understanding are the foundation of every decision that impacts Tasmanians. Welcome to our Lived and Living Experience Acknowledgement video launch. So before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphones on mute unless you're speaking, just to minimise any background noise. We really welcome your questions and reflections in the chat. We'll keep an eye on those and respond throughout the session where we can. Please note that this session is being recorded. If you'd prefer not to have your image recorded, please feel free to switch your camera off. We'll also have a couple of interactive activities today. So we'll be using Mentimeter a little later on, and we'll be inviting volunteers to help us read the full Lived and Living Experience Acknowledgement statement out loud later on as well. So we'd love to have as many of you as possible involved as we go through today's session. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. It's incredible to see so many people here today. So to those who don't know me, my name is Claire Riffer. I am the Director of Lived Experience here at the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drug Council. I'm going to be joined today by some other speakers. We have our CEO of ATDC, Dr. Jackie Hallam, and we also have co-hosts and lived experience advocates Tracy-Lee Bird and Jonathan Wheeler as well. So Tracy-Lee is a proud and enthusiastic lived and living experience advocate with the ATDC. This role has been and continues to be one that helps inspire hope and empower those dealing with substance use. Recently, Tracy-Lee launched the Create and Flow art studio at the Salvation Army Bridge program in Ulverston, where she's employed as a lived and living experience peer support worker. Tracy-Lee is passionate about individuals exploring their sense of purpose, belonging, acceptance and value. Jonathan is a lived experience advocate with training in the alcohol and other drug peer workforce. He brings both personal insight and professional knowledge to his work, with a strong focus on supporting inclusive approaches, breaking down stigma and discrimination. Away from advocacy, he's a proud dad and keen sports fan. And it's always a pleasure working with the both of you. Our CEO here at ATDC, Jackie, is going to be kicking us off today with a short piece on the broader context of this work, the Lived and Living Experience Acknowledgement. So I'll hand it over to you, Jackie.
Thank you, Claire. Welcome, everybody. Hello from me. As Claire said, I'm the CEO of the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drugs Council. Very honoured to be asked to say a few words. So thank you very much, Claire, for inviting me to say a few words. So I've been at the ATDC since 2015. I've been working in the field for about 20 or 30 years. And so I've seen a bit of the history. And right now, you know, we are making history here. And this is a wonderful occasion to have a formal acknowledgement of lived and living experience, and the role that this voice plays in our sector is a pivotal moment of history. I've been very fortunate to be part of this, and it's been something that's been entirely important in my working life, and that is the rise of a lived and living experience voice in the alcohol and other drug sector. Prior to 2020, there were a few individuals who were playing a role, individuals with a lived and living experience in our sector, but at a much smaller scale. And mainly at that time, there were a handful of passionate and committed people sitting on a handful of working groups. And that's just prior to the lived experience advocate service starting. So we're talking about, say, 2015 to 2020. TUFL, who we're speaking about there, has existed for about 15 years prior to that. So they've been around since about the year 2000. But just before we started our work here, there were a handful of people working on a handful of groups. Now, fast forward now, and we now have lived and living experience voice in being influential in many areas within the alcohol and other drug service system and across the wider health system and into the community as well. In August just gone, we had a lived experience advocate, really, thank you very much again, co-present at the TASCOS conference with myself. We've had advocates write pieces to mainstream newspapers in the last 12 months as well. We've also had advocates present at international conferences over the last few years, and many do media calls, talk on radio, and so on. And they're sitting on very high-level committees at the moment, and most recently in the state election wrote directly to candidates. So it's very fair to say there's been an exponential increase in the number of people with a lived and living experience taking part, but also writing their own words and sharing their own words and experiences at various different levels. And that's absolutely taken off in the last 5 years. Lived and living experience, I probably don't need to say why it is important and why it is valuable, but I'll just say a few words. It's authentic and provides insights that other stakeholders simply can't provide. It's a voice that sits alongside and must sit alongside voices from academia, service providers, policymakers, and other stakeholders. It has a seat at the table, and it must have a seat at the table so that we make our services better, and that we provide the services that Tasmanians want and need. And so we look after the well-being of each other, and lived experience is extremely important in that. There's been a cultural change, and that's been driven by people with lived experience, where we've challenged stereotypes and we've dismantled and we've challenged stigma. And we've held this, the lived and living experience voice continues to hold governments and services to account, making sure that things don't just look good on paper, but actually work in practice. It levels out the playing field, and it's something which should and must occur, and that being the lived and living experience voice, having that key seat at the decision-making table. I'm almost finished, Claire. So where are we going? The word of the next 12 to 24 months is leadership. And the leadership of people with lived and living experience must be underpinned by professional development and support. Again, it has a role at the decision-making table. It's also about respect for the expertise and the wisdom that it brings. And it's actually a step further than that. It's about understanding that this work is personal, and with that, it deserves a deep respect. And I would like to thank all of our advocates for the work that they do and acknowledge the importance of this work. And in doing so, acknowledge that together, the ATDC, with our member organisations and the wider alcohol and other drug sector and advocates, we are making history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. You've summed it up beautifully there. And you're right, it's absolutely essential component to our sector, our services, and the system of the ARD sector. So I'm going to speak very briefly about what's happening at ATDC in the land of the LEAS, as we often refer to it. This is an incredibly important piece of work for ATDC. It's one of our strategic priorities as well. And like Jackie's spoken about, something that we are really advancing and progressing a lot of movement in. So this is one of our key priorities to have lived experience engagement across the Tasmanian ATOD community managed sector. And I think we're far exceeding that priority as well. We are ensuring that we have systemic advocacy across the ARD sector, but also other adjacent sectors and broader health sectors. We have recently done submissions into things like the preventive health strategy. We have representatives across such a broad spectrum, which is incredible. And we have our lived experience advocate service and the systemic advocacy as well, which plays a pivotal role in that for that meaningful, influential engagement. And one of those key areas that we work to address is around stigma and discrimination. And that's where this piece of work really does link up. And this was something that is a very important part of process in a lot of our meetings and events that happen, and something that we've taken on as a project that has just continued, and we're very proud of the leadership that's been displayed throughout this project. So I'm going to hand on to the wonderful Tracy-Lee and Jonathan to speak to the co-design process of the 2 acknowledgement statements that have been developed and the video that we've produced from that. Tracy-Lee and Jonathan, remember to pop chat comments and reflections in the chat as well, everyone.
Cool. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jonathan. First of all, I'd like to say that this acknowledgement of lived and living experience of alcohol and drugs is vital for several reasons. It brings a deeper understanding of the difficulties surrounding dependency. People who have lived and live an experience often face stigma and judgment. By acknowledging lived and living experience, we move away from seeing them as just another addict, and we recognise them as individuals with unique stories, struggles, and successes. So with this acknowledgement, it validates their feelings and struggles, and it can make an empowering change, and it gives them a voice that can be heard. Lived experience can provide valuable lessons even, on presentation and education, and they often use their insights to underline causes such as trauma, mental health issues, or social economics. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Tracy-Lee, we had some really amazing conversations and reflections on the co-design process, particularly on the workshops and things that you were really keen to share with the audience today. Did you want to speak to that a little bit for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Speaking into that space, Claire, about we have a community of practice that meets bi-monthly, and people were sharing different acknowledgements, and it became quite a hot topic amongst the community of practice about, developing one of our own, and it certainly was a peer-led sort of process. And in saying that, I joined some of the workshops, but I just sat back and, I still could contribute though by just sending in notes, and it was very much inclusive, that all of our voices, we might have all had our individual opinions and perspectives and stories, but as a collective, we united and formed this acknowledgement. Yeah.
Awesome. So something that, oh, so sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
And it was sort of, unanimous that we agreed on that, in the framework of the acknowledgement, we would like to have human rights in there and, touch on the fact that it is a health issue. Yeah.
Yeah, that absolutely were some key things that came through. And I think it would be really wonderful to help the audience to understand about the fact that this was a co-design process as well. Would you like to talk to that, Jonathan or Tracy-Lee?
Thanks, Jonathan.
Hello. Good. So what was that again? Sorry, Claire, you broke up a little.
It would be really great to hear more about the co-design process and what that actually means for people developing this kind of document. This wasn't a consultation. It wasn't just giving your thoughts and ideas. It was genuine co-design to develop this. These are the words of the cohort that made this acknowledgement.
Oh, it was great to be a part of. Listening to just everyone had a different goal, and sometimes at the meeting I'd go in with just my goal. I want this, and someone else would come out with one of their goals that they want, and it's just like a light bulb. You're like, whoa, of course, no, that was much more important than what I got. And it was an eye-opener to see so many different things. But then at the end of all the meetings, basically everyone was still on the same page. We're all fighting for the same thing. We want things a little bit different, but we all still wanted the same. And how it come about, yes, some people wanted more and didn't get it. Others got exactly what they wanted. But when we read it all out and all signed off on it, I think every one of us 100% were happy with it. It was a team effort, and it was fantastic.
Totally.
You speak there a little bit about the diversity of the lived and living experience community that were coming together to develop something that was a representation of such a diverse group of people, and for everyone to be seen in this acknowledgement and to feel represented was a really important goal and achievement in developing this. So something that was discussed really in depthly, the language that was used, the structure, how it was developed was really important, how it all happened to capture all of that diversity there.
And it's fantastic, the fact that our journeys were so different, but they're so alike. Yeah. And I just think it was amazing. And to be fair, after every community of practice meeting, I never felt downhearted. I was always upbeat about it. Sometimes I wouldn't get my say, but you just listen to the passion of the other LEAs, and it just gave you such a big lift. You'd walk out the door. Sometimes you'd even struggle to get out the door because you felt that big. And that's, the LEA, all the LEAs are fantastic, and they just all bring passion and power.
Very much speaking to the collective there, aren't you? That it's the cohort together to working towards something that the collective are trying to achieve despite differences, despite diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a wealth of wisdom there, that as a collective we draw upon and we continue to draw upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And a strength in that diversity.
Absolutely.
So there were 3 workshops that we held that were maybe 2 hours, I think at minimum, each workshop. And there were 10 people that were involved across those workshops. And we had numerous kind of interactions across about 3 months that we were developing the different acknowledgements as well. So we would have people sending in a lot of different examples, things that they had used for acknowledgements before, or different kind of key themes and ideas that were really important to them. And we'd have different iterations, lots of different backwards and forwards. And at each workshop, depending on who could make it, we'd have different combinations of people that were present. But the 10 people that you'll see their names shortly, and we'll have a thanks, were contributing to those workshops and that co-design process throughout. Does anyone have any questions for Tracy-Lee or Jonathan about the co-design and development of these resources at this point? No? No problem. All right, we'll skip on then. We are going to take this opportunity to read the full acknowledgement. Now, you all heard me read our short event acknowledgement at the very beginning of today. So that is modelling what we recommend everyone does with these acknowledgements is at the beginning of a meeting or event is to take a moment to acknowledge lived experience expertise. And that shorter statement is often more appropriate for a shorter meeting and event, and something like this full acknowledgement is a great opportunity for a big training or a bigger kind of event like today. So what we'd love to invite the audience to do is to get involved and to contribute and model the sector actually acknowledging the importance and value of lived experience expertise here. So Kyle has popped in a link in the chat to the full lived and living experience statement. And we're asking for volunteers from the audience to read out a statement each. That you can see in the screenshots there of the statement that it's about 3 or 4 lines each that we're asking for. So it'll only take a moment. Please don't worry about reading anything perfectly. It's about showing up and sharing responsibility for this acknowledgement. And we'd really love to see everyone's reflections of what they think about the acknowledgement as well. So don't be shy, pop your name in. Thanks, Janelle. We're after 7 people. Thanks, Zoe. Once we've got a few names, we'll give everyone a section and go from there. Now, it is really important to note that the resources have very specifically been designed and developed for people within our sector to use as a tool to acknowledge those with lived and living experience. We are wanting people in the sector to stand up and make this acknowledgement rather than people with lived and living experience themselves to be holding that space. So that's an important modelling that we're asking for our sector to stand up for. All right, we'll go in order of people that have come up. I'll go first to kick us off, and then we'll go Janelle with our second.
We've got 7 names, so maybe
Okay.
Janelle can kick it off.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm happy to. So we, the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drugs Council, Tasmania, ATDC, acknowledge and deeply value the diverse voices and experiences of people with lived and living experience of alcohol and other drugs. We acknowledge that experiences with alcohol and other drug use are unique to everyone. We value the various support networks who stand alongside people within this community, offering care, support and strength through challenging times.
Alcohol and other drug use can be accompanied by harm, stigma, and discrimination for many, with significant impacts on health and well-being. Alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs continue to be a major cause of harm in Tasmania and is a significant driver of preventable death, disease and illness, and psychological distress. Their impacts extend across health, social and economic domains, which ultimately intersects with the housing, education and employment sectors, and often the justice system.
Stigma and discrimination can affect not only individuals, but also the broader community, which impact equity, access and opportunity for all. The voice of lived and living experience illuminates the realities of substance use and its intrinsic link to human rights, health and dignity. This highlights that problematic use of alcohol and other drugs is a health issue, not a character or a moral failing, and that it does not define a person. The voice and advocacy of those with lived and living experience promotes empathy, inclusivity, and supportive environments and challenges entrenched stereotypes.
We stand together to call for an end to these inequalities and for the creation of a Tasmania where all people seeking support are met with respect and without fear of recrimination or reprisal. We support and advocate for the Tasmanians with substance Declaration of Human Rights.
Appreciation for advocacy to those who use their lived and living experience of alcohol and other drugs to advocate to improve our health sector and community. We thank you. Your voices and insights are a catalyst for change, challenging stigma, deepening understanding and fostering meaningful progress across Tasmania's AOD and broader health sectors.
Through your advocacy, the lived and living experience community fosters connection, solidarity and hope. Your stories inspire others to challenge misconceptions, embrace resilience, and work towards a future where people feel valued and supported. Treatment and support services are strengthened, and stigma and discrimination is reduced. By amplifying the collective voice, you help to build a trauma-informed and inclusive community that prioritises autonomy, choice, and diversity.
We celebrate the significant contributions of lived and living experience advocates and peer workers. Your expertise, passion, and dedication improve the lives of people, families, and the wider Tasmanian community. Together, we honour your essential voice and shared commitment to creating a future where dignity, respect, and understanding are the foundation of every decision that impacts Tasmanians.
Thank you so much to all our readers. And ultimately, that's modelling exactly the essence of what this acknowledgement is. This is our sector taking responsibility and also celebrating, acknowledging the importance of embracing lived and living experience expertise and acknowledging the importance of that. So thank you, everyone. And you'll note that this full acknowledgement is written from ATDC, and this is the idea behind this is that if you're reading this on behalf of your organisation, you can adapt it to suit your organisation or yourself if you're reading it on behalf of yourself, etc. There's some really clear, important messages throughout that full acknowledgement that were so important to our lived and living experience community that came through from that very diverse group as being essential components that needed to be captured through this acknowledgement. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of that process. Now's our time to thank everyone that was involved in co-designing these acknowledgement statements. So to Lily Foster, Jean Stewart-Murray, Catherine Sykes, Jeffrey Ryan, Tiana Marshall, Tracy-Lee Bird, Kerry Dare, Jessica DeCarado, Samantha Hodgetts and Jonathan Wheeler, a huge thank you. It's been a pleasure and really, really grateful that our sector have these resources to use from here on. So after these were launched earlier this year, actually Dan Vorton, who has moved on from the ATDC, had this incredible idea to create a video from these acknowledgements. And that is what we have done. That's what we are all here for, to launch. But what we want to really chat through now is Tracy-Lee and Jonathan's experiences, particularly around developing this video and the impact of having seen these acknowledgements being launched and what it really feels like having these meaningful acknowledgements being made in group settings and what we're hoping to achieve by having these resources available to our sector. So I'll hand it over to you, Tracy-Lee and Jonathan, again. You're on mute, Tracy-Lee.
Apologies, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, so I can recall, at the conference when I witnessed Ella and Zoe, read the acknowledgement for the first time, and I came to realise, that this year at the conference we were really at the forefront, and I actually felt like I might be a part of a movement, and that was pretty exciting, and as Jackie said today, hearing it, it really is the rise of the lived experience voice, and we officially do have a seat at the table. That's precious. It really is.
Hello. Right. You get away. I apologise. A new kitten. Yeah, my reflection when seeing everyone come out to do your video was really good. It was at a time just before the conference. I was actually thinking of stepping away from the advocacy for no reason, just I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. And then I was part of the acknowledgement, and then I was asked to go along to the conference and then be a part of the video. And it was watching all you guys who were in the video outside and seeing everyone come together and seeing them, that you're doing that for us, for me, someone with lived experience. It was fantastic. It made me feel real proud and had a lot of hope. And instead of having people look at me as if to say, there's that dirty person who's got this sort of, it wasn't. You were all there looking at LEAs going, let's help them, let's do this. And it made me change my mind. It's made me want to be an LEA more. It's wanted me to use my voice more. So thank you very much. Yeah, really do. Thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah, I second that. You know, I just was incredible because you felt seen and you felt heard and you felt validated from a place where there was no stigma and there was no judgment. And, you know, that was really empowering.
I love that. And for the people that weren't at the conference, that weren't lucky enough, Ella Davey did an incredible reflections welcome, LLE welcome to the conference that just set the tone for the conference incredibly, and it really spoke to the incredible leadership that we have in our cohort of people in the lived and living experience community. And then we also had Zoe Bock, our new Director of Policy and Impact, who'd only been in the role for a couple of weeks and incredibly just stepped into this new conference space and read that full acknowledgement, and I think had half the room in tears and also up in arms of empowerment, and incredibly moving. And we had demonstration after demonstration of lived and living experience leadership throughout those 2 days, without even, I barely have words to talk to the Support Don't Punish campaign achievements that were at that conference as well. So having this as a resource, that those 2 days were an incredible opportunity to see leadership in action, and hearing reflections from our lived experience advocates of how much how welcomed people felt in the conference, how they didn't feel stigma or discrimination in that conference setting, how they felt so very welcomed and, like you've mentioned there, Tracy, part of a movement, and being acknowledged as experts in this field as well. And yeah, it's fantastic, and we'll keep that momentum going. Some of the things we had some reflections on earlier, Jonathan and Tracy-Lee, were what it feels like when a meaningful acknowledgement is made, and in those settings, what does that create as a space? So in I guess the contrast, if an acknowledgement isn't made at the beginning of a meeting or an event compared to when it is, what does it create for you, and why is it important for us to be doing it?
Well, from what I've noticed is that it does create this sort of space that sort of where conversations can happen around the lived experience, and acknowledging just how empowering it can be. And I've just lost my train of thought. I do apologise. Yeah.
It takes a lot of pressure away from the person with the lived experience. Sometimes we will enter a room, and we've had the stigma for so long, and as soon as an acknowledgement is made, a small one, you know, you read the small one out, you read the big one, it's straight away, it's put us at rest, it's put us at ease. It just makes us feel like we're not, you know, someone that you're just going to toss aside. It makes us feel like you actually are listening to us and that you want us to be there. And, you know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's sort of, it feels like it's okay to be seen. You know, there's no shame and there's no stigma and there's no judgment. And that's like Jonathan said, you know, for so long you can carry that around, and it sort of breaks the chains, and that's amazing. It's liberating, you know.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think there are some incredible reasons right there for us to be incorporating these lived and living experience acknowledgements into our everyday practice, if we're not already. I know I've heard lots of reflections from other people who are using them in their practices. I know in different group settings and things as well, that it has a really incredible way of setting that space for people to feel like they can contribute, that they feel safe to participate, and reducing and breaking down that stigma and discrimination. So they're quite a powerful tool for people to be using. We are going to do a bit of an interactive piece now. So if everyone's got your phones out, we're going to jump onto Mentimeter. You can use the QR code there, or Kyle has also put the link into the chat. And what we're asking from you all is to pop some reflections, thoughts about how you will use the lived and living experience acknowledgement in your work. We're wanting to think really broadly about different ways that we can be using this, and the video as well. We haven't gotten to that yet. We're keeping you here as long as we can, building the anticipation ready. But we're really keen to hear lots of different ideas about how these tools could be used in the sector. And they should start popping up live. Doesn't look like this is working. This has been the bane of our existence for about 4 days. Let's pop it in the chat, folks.
It does work from our end.
Ah.
If you can't see it on the PowerPoint, but after you submit your comment, you can view results, and then it takes you into the Mentimeter site.
All right. That's a good tip. Thanks, Damo.
I'm out of my depth.
Ah, I'm too scared to share my screen rather than.
I'll post, I'll copy some of the answers and put them in the chat, but the format's going to be quite big, so I'm just lowering the format.
Thank you, Michelle. We have a screenshot in the chat. Great workaround. I'm way too terrified to stop presenting, because if I suddenly don't have that video working, that is the key thing for me today. So let's go with the screenshot. I love this. So many different and diverse ways that we can be using this. Email block. Yes. So many fantastic ideas. I love this, and I hope that there are lots of inspiration for others as well, for different ways that it could be used. All right. So we are very close to our actual launch of the video, but before we do this, I would really, really love to thank everyone, all of our representatives who got behind the, well, in front of the camera, dedicated their time to this. A massive thank you to Jonathan, who actually hosted, alongside Kyle, the session with Hype Production at the conference. So in amongst the mayhem of 200 people at the conference, we had a room off to the side where Hype Productions came in for a couple of hours, and Jonathan was hosting people as they were waiting for their turn to go in to be filmed, and Kyle was prepping them ready, chatting them and keeping Hype Productions on time to get people through, and everybody lined up and had their time to read out the acknowledgement and be filmed ready for this incredible piece. So a huge thank you to representatives from across our entire sector. We have people from the community services organisations, from government. We have lived experience advocates. We have ATDC representatives. We have people from our adjacent sectors as well, who are all standing up and advocating for and empowering our lived and living experience advocates and, well, everyone in the community who identify as having a lived and living experience, and acknowledging the importance of that. So a huge thank you to everyone. Here's the moment we've all been waiting for. Is the anticipation high? I hope. Everyone's probably just really sick of listening to me. Here we go. Love to hear people's reflections or pop it into the chat. People are asking if I can play it again. And some people have had an issue, but sounds like some have seen it, so that's good. I'll go back and play it one more time. It is absolutely going to be, it's actually launched on our website, so we'll give you the link in a moment. There we go. There are some very familiar faces in there. I'm glad you all like it. It has been an absolute joy going through that and being a part of that process. Very excited to be getting it out there in the sector for people to access and use, and I'm really excited to see how it is used. So want to see it again? You can access it on our website. It's going to be, well, it is live under our resources tab. Kai will pop that into the chat, or he already has, because incredible. And we're also asking a bit of a call out for people to let us know how you've used it and what that's done for you in your practices, how that's impacted your work. We'd really love to have some feedback around that as well. So really great to see everyone. Love seeing all the reflections coming in on the chats. Any questions or comments that anyone wants to throw in verbally?
It just, yeah, I just want to say, just, you know, it feels like I'm a part of something that's really special. Like we are making history, and I actually got a little bit emotional during that. Yeah, it's pretty special.
Absolutely. Zoe.
I guess just to build upon what Jonathan was reflecting on about feeling that this sort of work makes people feel wanted, I think something like this also demonstrates the need that goes alongside that as well. It's really clear that this work is needed, and it's really powerful based on the feedback, even in the comments today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Zoe. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our webinar today and our video launch. A huge thank you to our lived experience advocates who've been involved in this process. A huge thank you to everyone who's been involved in making the video, and a huge thank you to Jackie and our wonderful co-host today, Jonathan and Tracy-Lee, and our support people, Kyle and Scott as well. Thank you so much. Kyle, do you have something to add?
Oh yeah, I mean, now that you're wrapping up, that's okay. But I thought, since we do have a number of LEAs in the chat now, and some that were involved in the co-design, whether any of those wanted to raise their hands and make any final comments about either how it was for them or just the experience of seeing it today finally hit fruition.
Please, we welcome it if anyone wants to contribute.
Yeah, I'll share. I loved the experience. I'm much the same as Tracy-Lee and Jonathan, and just like seeing a part of and being a part of a collective action, it just feels very different than doing things. We've all done different roles on our own, but that coming together and working as a group to create something and just seeing the outcome today, yeah, it just makes me feel proud and just grateful to be a part of it and stand alongside some really amazing people.
Thanks, Ella.
Thanks,
Maz.
Yeah, hi guys. Look, for someone who's worked in the industry a long time, who'd have thought 19 years ago we'd be here now doing a video? You know, it's just amazing what I've seen with a different culture change from someone who's got lived experience where we were looked down upon in the industry, where now we're celebrated. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else from anyone? It's lovely to see so many faces here today. No, silence. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you again, Jonathan and Tracy-Lee. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Just before everyone goes, I think I'd just like to chime in and say thank you to Claire for driving this project. This could have easily become one of those projects that sits in the wings and people talk about, but it actually took an extraordinary amount of logistics and admin and time that she took on. So thank you, Claire. And this is a great legacy that you'll leave behind for this sector as well.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carl. That was lovely.
No worries. Well, it's true. You kind of added it. It wasn't in your KPIs, but you added it in.
Yeah. Yeah. Very proud of it.
It went well.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. We should end the event and stop the recording.
Oh, okay.
But I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I think if I end the event, we can still stay. I'll try it.